Right, and we will be in the meeting of the airport commission at 4:03 p.m. The first item of business is for commissioners attending remotely to acknowledge themselves. So just go around on screen and just introduce yourselves to everyone here, please.
Robin Gillian.
Andrew Savage.
Jeff Schulman.
Luke Mason.
Connor Daly.
And Jim is here as well. So thank you. So we move on now to item 2, which is the agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the contents of the agenda as proposed?
I move for acceptance of the content of the agenda.
Thank you, Hal. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Robin. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 We have to raise our hand.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We have an agenda. Move on to item 3, which is public forum. We have 4 members from the public today. As a reminder, you'll have approximately 3 minutes to say whatever you'd like to say to the airport commission. It is not intended to be a back and forth, but we're here to listen to what you have to say. So Jesse, we didn't do slips, did we? No. So we'll go left to right, my left to right.
You can come up to this.
So-
Your turn. Oh, I didn't. Hello, can you hear me? Okay, I'm Leaf again. I am here to give you your monthly update from the Airport Advocate Volunteer Crew. Wanted to let you know we have once again not been seeing ICE transports through the airport for the past month of prisoners. We have seen a new thing, at least from our perspective, which is ICE has brought people who have been released from custody to the airport to drop them off to wait for their families. This is much better than bringing prisoners. You know, these people have now been freed. They've been released because the courts ruled that their detention was illegal. So that's good because people are starting to get, at least some of them, some amount of due process. So that's good. But we just wanted people to know that occasionally there are now community members who have been incarcerated illegally and are now left at the airport to wait for their families. So if everyone could just keep an eye out to make sure that, you know, if someone is looking lost, they get help going where they need to go. We've met some of these people. They're wonderful people who just want to go home. So just wanted to let you know that that's happening a bit. And, you know, from our perspective, it's a good thing, but important to know about because people should be, you know, able to get to their families and not be lost in a strange airport that they don't know where it is. Anyway, we've also still been handing out flyers in the morning to passengers and have gotten a really positive response to that. So people have been really happy to receive information from us. And we're excited to hear update about the kiosks, hopefully, because it seems like people really want that information. And then lastly, we wanted to let you know that we have been working on a city council resolution that's specifically about exploring ways that the upcoming TSA lease renewal could be an avenue for further collaboration between the airport and TSA and volunteer advocates, you know, supporting people's right to due process at the airport. So we would love to collaborate with you about that. And we have a draft version that we would love to discuss and see if you have any edits, etc. Okay, that's our update. Yeah. The grant. What? The grant? Yes, sorry. Last thing is that while we haven't been seeing transports to the airport, we think that that could change soon because there's an abnormally high number of ICE detainees in Vermont right now. There are currently 8 folks incarcerated at Chittenden County Regional Correctional Facility and 20 folks at Northwest. So we think that that means that there could come to the airport. So just wanted to make sure that everyone is keeping vigilant for any sort of, you know, nefarious sneaky ICE activity because while we haven't seen it, it could start up at any time. So we'll keep keeping a lookout and it would be great if others could too. Okay.
Thank you.
Can you tell me again the name of your organization?
Oh, we don't really. So, we don't have, we're not really an organization, but the crew of us who have been here volunteer, we've just been calling ourselves the Airport Advocates.
Okay,
Yeah. Just volunteer.
that's how I can label you.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, Gene Bergman, City Councilor of Burlington. I'm just here because I'm working with them on that resolution and I thought it'd be good for me to look at on you. and hear, because I haven't done this before, and to encourage the administration and the commission to work with us before we enter into anything. That would be really helpful. Because I think that the spirit is one of collaboration, so that's why I'm here. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Sherry. And Eve was just talking about the resolution that we worked hard at. To talk about how TSA functions in this airport. And Rachel is on her way with copies of that for this meeting. Be glad to speak with you more about that, and just wanted to share that. So thank you all for taking the time to listen and be advocates for our human neighbors. Here's Rachel.
Good timing.
You're up for public forum. This is, if you wish, don't mean to put you on the spot.
Hey, everybody. Nice to see you, Rachel Siegel, Burlington resident. And I come bearing draft resolutions that I ran out of copy paper, so they're printed one-sided on some used paper, so just ignore the other side. But if you'd like to take a copy and pass them on, we can also provide them electronically. This is a resolution that some people might have already spoken about. So you've heard about it. And hopefully it's something that you all can get behind and be supportive of. And if you have any questions, you know how to reach all of us, I think. Really, really excited to potentially have your support in this. It really, really will mean a lot. You've got a lot of pull here in your role, even though, you know, a lot of times you say, well, we're just advisors, but you are in fact appointed to a position of power, and you have a voice, and it really makes a difference. So thanks a lot.
Joe, do you have this digitally that you share too, so we can share it?
Yeah.
I think she emailed it to you.
To me?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you.
Right.
See nobody from there's nobody in the public, you know. That's great. So we will close down public forum. We will move on to item 4, which is the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the contents of the consent agenda as proposed?
So moved.
That is moved by Helen. Is there a second? Judy.
Second.
Thank you, Robin. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Thank you for that. We move on to item 5, which is the construction update from Larry.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I know Nick reports on Project Next, but the next 10 to 12 weeks is critical, as by then we're hopefully going to be moving into it. During which time the old self-concourse will be taken down. You have the time to tour that. It's beautiful out there. So just nice, you know, it looks great. My item 4, the key point of that one is we moved from design to moving towards permitting and construction with a grant application next year. The SRE building will be going out to bid in the next 1 to 2 weeks. The Burlington Tech Center started receiving students last week. It was exciting, it's an awesome facility. Things turned out really well down there. We're working with Beta, have been working with them both on their child care center that they're permitting at their site, and also a hangar that they're going to be building. So those things are going on. The glycol system upgrade, which we've been talking about for a long time now. We've submitted the first FAA form for siting, and we'll get their response back and then respond to them and figure out how to do that. We're working with the FAA on our CIP right now to figure out how we're going to fund that over the next few years. So those are key there. Project Next is about what I put here. The proposed project worksheet that's required by the FAA by the end of October was submitted for the final grant to finish any items at that with that project, which would be the completion of the renovation of the second floor and some potential modifications to the HVAC system. Runway 1533, we talked about, the project's done, went very well, and we're gonna be able to move very quickly into closeout. I've already talked about to the contractor there, close to having all their materials already to the engineer, so we can get a closeout document on that. Next year's construction project being Taxiway Charlie Golf rehabilitation. We have the contracts, we're finalizing them with Pike Industries right now. And the Western Cable project that went again very well this past summer, we're working on the closeout for that. That's all I have unless there's any questions of me.
All right, commissioners, anything for Larry on this topic?
I have a question. Do you know anything about the opening date for the daycare? With Beta, I mean, you're working with them, but getting some slots for some of your employees or?
I have no,
that's too
Nick
bad.
might know, but I don't know that. I know we went through DRB and.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so,
That's how you.
yeah, so.
That's right, more on the construction side, the logistics of the operation though would be more internal to them then.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah, but it went well at the DRB, so.
And is the Golf Charlie is the same as we've seen before? That's just a continuation, right?
Yes, yep, it's yeah, we're just finishing the contract so Pike can start next year. Working out some of the logistics and details on how we're gonna get that done during the day or night, so.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we'll be potentially closed at a piece of golf causing us to go onto the runway, right?
No, we're still looking at the best, safest, most efficient and the last item in that is the cost to it, right? Safety always has to be the first one. We're still looking at that. So what, like Larry said, will we do it in the day? Will we do it at night? If we do it at night, will we close entirely at least 1533, our main runway? Because we want to try to avoid what we call back taxiing, which is
Right.
using runway for not takeoff or landing procedures, literally taxiing down the runway. So we're trying to avoid that as best as we possibly can.
Okay.
And then, of course, the logistics of how busy we've been and getting specifically from the south to the north or even to our smaller runway when we have a portion of it closed is a complicated project.
Yeah.
This is a somewhat more complicated than we initially thought, especially in that intersection, but
Yeah.
Taxiway Charlie, for reference, is right in front of where FedEx parks and Heritage Aviation and Pratt and Whitney. So a lot of activity occurs on that ramp. So if you close a portion of it or small portions, it's still very challenging to get around.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
All right, commissioners, anything else for Larry on this topic? All right, we'll move on to item 6, which is the residential sound insulation program update, also for Larry.
Okay, the first item being sound installation pilot project or the phase 1. That project has been finally submitted to the FAA for a closeout, which marks the 4-year anniversary basically of the program starting. And so we're actually finished, obviously, the second phase, which was the pilot part 2. And we're receiving all the materials now to get that finally closed out. For phase 3, good news there is that all those homes are finished with just punch list items to be completed. Phase 4 is currently under construction. And
So they have done all the testing, the new required testing.
right, for phase 3, acoustical's been done.
Okay.
Yeah, and that report's being ready. So, yep, so they tested to make sure they got the right levels and stuff. Yep. For phase 3, or they did for phase 1 and 2, but that was
Right,
some
but then
time
they
ago. That was already done.
the requirements. Did they not?
That's the pre-test acoustical that got changed. That's
Pre-test.
what bump in the road we hit. So, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And maybe you're referring to how we got lumped into an area of all properties being eligible after kind of sampling some of these properties. Where now we do have this, we have to test every single property pre and post construction.
So, so we continue to move that forward. As we reported last month or 2 months ago, we did receive that large grant from the OLDCC for 7.4 million, which includes about 8.1 million more improvements. There's been no communication because of the government shutdown. They're not working. So as soon as they get back, I'm sure we're gonna have many calls, and Madison and I will be responding to them. Residential sound installation phase 6. I talked about how we were evaluating this versus receiving that big grant from OLDCC and the timing. Right now, most likely this grant will include the resident project representative fees and construction administration fees for those OLDCC funds to get those houses completed next summer. And that's all I have, unless there are any questions.
Commissioners, anything for Larry on this topic? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to item 7, which is the financial update from Marie.
Very good. Well, hello, everyone. The financial update that you have today is for our financial results through the month of September. So this is the first 3 months of our new year. The highlights of the report, our revenues are very close to what they were last year. They're just a little bit under. Our expenditures are just tiny bit over. These are not unexpected. I think the garage is actually doing maybe a little bit better than I thought it would, given the fee structure change. And it continues to see very high occupancy rates in there, so that is doing very well. Some of the other revenues, I'm not concerned about the comparison year over year, because I know that once we get into January and February, we've had some incentives with Breeze Airways because they were a new airline here. They will begin paying landing fees on any routes that are now hitting that 2-year mark. That's when the incentive ends on that particular route, and they'll start paying landing fees on that. But they will also start paying terminal fees, rent fees, which those are waived. And when we have a new airline come, and they'll start paying common use. So we'll see some of these things. We'll see more of an uptake on some of those, I think, than we did. And as far as, I know I'm curious to see car rentals, what they come in for the month of October. I know this airport was just popping. We had both a lot of visitors that were coming. I'm not gonna steal your thunder, Nick, but we'll talk about, the flurry of activity here. And we expect to see some good results as a result of that. So our cash still continues to be fairly strong. It fluctuates a lot in any month because our bills are very, very large. With the construction that is going on, I would say with AIP 154 coming to an end, that, we'll start to be wrapping some of these things up, and if we won't have the next project and the runway mill and overlay going on at the same time, we'll just be dealing with the next project. But we had that is being managed. We manage that exceptionally well here and keep our finger on that all the time, our finger on the pulse all the time. So that's like the biggest thing I have. The revenues that you can see even from the on the revenue comparison chart are holding very strong. And we did see a little bit of a down tick in terms of the trend with the landing fees. And a little bit of explanation to that. A year ago, when we came in the summer, the airlines were bringing in a lot more airlines. They were offering a ton of seats. Our enplanements are actually higher this year than they were even a year ago. They're higher than they were to the same months. But I think the airlines are bringing in bigger planes, and they're much fuller. So there's maybe less planes coming in, but that does result in less landing fees, and you have less planes. So, but I think we'll see that trend differently once we get to January, February, and we expect to have Breeze Airways pay on those landing fees. So that's sort of the highlights of where we are. Nothing unexpected, and we are in the midst of having our auditors here on site this week. And
So that's always an exciting time and working for that. In a good way, they gave them a tour today of the next construction, so they can understand our biggest project that we have going on and all the money that we're putting into that and investing in that, and all the grant related to that, so. They were impressed. They said it's the nicest looking airport they've seen, so just to say, that's good.
Good.
That was my report. I entertain any questions.
Thank you, Marie. Quick, commissioners, any questions for Marie? Yeah, sure.
Robin.
Go ahead, Ron. Thank you, Jessica.
Thanks, Marie, and congratulations. This might come later on in Nick's report or whatever, but we've been talking a lot about the parking and the switchover eventually, and potentially raising the rates. Is that going to enter into these numbers, or is that going to be downstream quite a bit?
So we raised the rates in July this year. We went from $12 a day maximum to $14 a day. We also eliminated, we used to charge after the first 10 minutes or 15 minutes, we would charge $1 up to the first hour.
Right.
And we eliminated that fee. So those went into effect already. We had not raised rates here in the entire time I'm here, and I think it goes back closer to 15 years.
Yeah.
Increase. So we're seeing that here, and you can see that if you look at the revenues for the parking garage, this year they were two mil in the first 3 months, $2,078,000 compared to last year, $1,841,000. So we are over to $200,000, $230,000 higher for the first 3 months than we were a year ago. And that's due to strong demand. We're seeing strong demand. Maybe the demand for the park garage is even a little bit higher than it was last year. And that combined, even with getting rid of the $1 fees.
Right.
It's a couple of things, because it gives people a really great option if they're coming to pick up, especially, or drop off, instead of waiting out in front of the terminal and backing up or causing all of that. They can just swing into the garage, and then they can walk in the airport, and then they can help their person leave, and they can do all of that within the hour.
No, I've heard a lot of positive feedback about that. I was curious how it related to the 14. So, but we
Yeah.
still haven't gone to the eventual, which is going to be like the code, right? So when we do that, aren't we going to like a QR? We're not going to have the gate anymore.
Oh, the new parking system.
The new
So that-
system.
Yeah, so that was actually physically delivered this week and is being fully installed next week. So we'll have a newer parking hardware software system that you'll see as you enter the airport. With that system comes all sorts of upgrades, from digital pay options. We're playing around with pre-reservation features.
I want that.
Google Pay, Apple Pay, all sorts of different things that will most certainly upgrade that. Yeah.
Right. But again, and from the money standpoint, which is your point, which is your part, is the upgrades cost money, but we've already seen this 200,000. So are we sort of balanced in how much we had to pay for all these upgrades, but because we did the uptick where it's paying for itself?
Well, I have a great answer I'll give some detail. So in the past, when we purchased the system T2 that is currently in there, we went out, the city went out into the lease for us. So we have been making payments, principal, paying off the principal and interest. We've been doing that over the years. Last year, we had our last payment with that. And so we finished that up. So that was really did end up. I mean, I guess we got it right on the mark, truly reflected the aligning with the life of that asset that we had purchased. This time around, it's a little bit different model, where we're not paying for all of that upfront. It's more in line with what you're seeing in all kinds of industries, where it's more of a subscription-based model. So there's a certain, we're paying for it, but we're going to be paying differently each and every year. So it really doesn't turn out to be any more expensive, maybe slightly more than what we were paying. The other thing that we did last time, when we did upgrade the parking garage system to T2, we spent money, the wiring and the infrastructure to support that, and the electrical and the wires underground, the conduit. We spent time, energy, and resources putting that into place. And it looks like all of that has the bandwidth and the capacity for us to sort of drop pull out the old and plop in the new, and everything is gonna tick and tie. So that cost, that physical cost, we didn't have to do that this time. So we think, so that's what, we've been told, but that's what we have to rely on, the testing. They've come in and done some, and then testing, so this is not without, coming in with our eyes open. And so that is saving us money that we spent years ago. So yeah, we're not really spending, you're not seeing we'll generate way more revenue in the increase in the garage than we will be paying to have the upgrade, but it will be so much better for our customers. We'll have all of our exit lanes open, all of our entrance lanes open, which we just can't do right now because of an inability to get that equipment replaced.
Yeah.
So we're very excited to be able to offer that because it is such a high use garage and we want it to be seamless for our customers.
Awesome. Thanks, Marie.
Any other questions?
Go ahead, Connor.
Oh yeah, I just had a couple questions on the expenditures line, just so I'm so I know them. I might just be like just talking. On line 6007 on the shipping and moving, it looks like the budget's 30, almost 35,000, but we're at 31,000 and change. Is that was this due to like a one-time relocation or like equipment move or vendor? Like
Well, you know what I need to
consolidation?
do, Connor, and I apologize because I can see how.
Oh, you're fine.
The column, I need to put the column titles over there because that 31,000 is what's remaining for the rest of the year. We spent
Oh,
$425, and I'm looking at that and I could see how that would be very confusing. So I apologize for that. It never occurred to me because when I'm looking at it in the screen, I'm just scrolling down. But yes, that probably would make a lot more sense. Shipping costs are more expensive, but no, we're not almost there.
okay. And I think that actually solves a lot of my other questions.
Okay.
Uh, well, actually, on
Yes.
on 6247, the energy efficient piece, I assume the triple plus signs that usually indicate reallocation or deferred spending, is that what that means, or is that is that something specific to like your process?
Well, I probably ought to remove that line. So going back a number of years for a while, we were having some studies done in this and we were showing that. The city was very interested in knowing what we were spending on that. What we've done is we decided we are implementing this across projects. We implemented across, we did all our repair and maintenance last year, the last 18 months in the garage to update the lighting. So much of what we're doing has an eye on making it more efficient. So we're actually not budgeting specifically in that line item anymore. So that's a great question. It's zero last year. It'll be zero this year. We're budgeting within the individual lines that relate to energy efficiency if we're making updates.
Connor, I'd add that the 4 lines that have the triple plus all have a budget of 0, so I think it's also like a divide by 0 kind of
Yeah.
flat.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I figured. I was just curious. All right, thank you. I appreciate it. All right.
Very good.
All right, anything else from Marie? All right, we'll wrap item 7, move on to item 8, which is the director's report from Nick.
Yeah, thank you. Jesse's gonna pull it up right now. And it is online, but I like to always start with just a quick update with Project Next. Larry and Maria talked a little bit about the new building. We are still on track to open in the spring of next year. We're getting closer and closer, of course, with every day. These pictures really start showing some of the enclosures that are now happening, i.e. drywall and paint and some of the detail work that you're gonna see as a passenger and as a customer. It's almost completely enclosed in glass right now. There still is a few panels left to do. We've had a delivery of our first of 4 new jet bridges. It's not in this picture, but it's on the opposite side of the building. Of the building in the center picture there. And then the other ones will come online throughout the rest of the construction season up to the spring of next year. Our hope and our goal is to, of course, open this and then start the demolition work on the gates for 3, 4, 5, and 6 area as soon as we open this in the spring. But as you can see, not only the groundwork specifically for the concrete area, which is where that roller machine is in the center picture, the interior space, the fireplaces inside. We have selected a new artist to join us. There's about $180,000 worth of art being installed in that particular room on the right-hand picture, as well as furniture being delivered over the course of the next several weeks. And lots more deliveries happening every single day. And of course the final touches, but it is changing rapidly still as we go in the building for our tours. We recently brought in Secretary of Transportation Joe Flynn and his team in yesterday, was it? I think it was Monday, maybe, into the building to show him and his team the improvements that are happening in this space. And as Marie indicated, of course, this building is really to make sure that we're ready for the larger aircraft that we're seeing every single day over and over and over again. So each one of these 4 new jet bridges will be able to accommodate that particular aircraft size.
So how many large plane, bridges are working now, like at one time? How many? Because this is really
Maybe
supposed
the opposite
Oh.
would be easier. How many jet bridges that can't accommodate those
Okay,
large
all right.
planes? But right now we probably have 3 jet bridges that we have to limit. Probably 2 jet bridges. No, I would say 3 jet bridges that we have to completely eliminate these size aircraft from using.
Okay.
The challenge with that is the other jet bridges that we operate already are having these larger aircraft on there. So when an airline asks us to bring in a larger aircraft, we either have to say no, or they have to perform a different operation to bring that aircraft in via a vehicle or a tug or something like that, which we try to avoid. So there are multiple jet bridges and parking positions that we have to eliminate some aircraft from using.
So once this is completed, all of the bridges, no matter where they are, can accommodate large, or are there
You got
still
it.
some, oh,
Yeah,
okay.
there's still one that will be in the South Concourse that we're not touching as part of this project, but all 4 of these jet bridges can accommodate both the smallest and the largest aircraft that come into the airport, allowing that flexibility. We even designed one of the jet bridges to split operation so that they can have 2 smaller aircraft, and if they don't have one of them, one large aircraft at the position. So the goal of this project was flexibility, not just for space outside, but also space inside, to make sure that if a larger plane is coming in, we can still have space for 200 passengers, really 400 passengers in and out in that one jet bridge alone.
So gate 1 will be gate 1A, 1B.
That'll be that split one.
Okay.
We got 2 options.
We've been on the road or in the air, so to speak, quite a bit over the last month. Just a quick highlight on a presentation that we were able to participate in for the Education and Enrichment for Everyone. They host these presentations seasonally, but pretty much every single Friday, and they invited us to participate in this one, not just for the future of the airport, but also our sustainable missions, our noise programs. We had an hour presentation and question and answers with about 100 folks that were attended this right here in South Burlington at the United Methodist Church, Dorset. The team and I also were on the road to Toronto. Coincidentally, it happened to be during the World Series, which made the city pretty exciting to be in. But this was the Airport Council International, which is ACI, North America division, as well as the World Association that hosted this annual conference. There are several thousand attendees to the conference from all over the world, including partners and airport directors from the New England area, as well as around the country, of course. The four of us went, Madison, Jesse, Jeff, and myself. This also had a massive showroom of new technology, new items that we were able to meet with many people to discuss different opportunities at the airport. Where, of course, we also had many presentations and seminars that were associated with the conference that we just got back last week from. Larry mentioned this as well, but just a couple of pictures to really showcase the amazing work that Burlington Technical Center did. This was the ribbon cutting that both myself, the mayor of Burlington, the superintendent of the schools, the executive director for BTC, as well as some of the contractors and partners were able to, and of course students were able to participate in a pretty spectacular grand opening. This building, if you recall, it was part of a lease agreement that we signed with BTC and the school district 6 to 12 months ago, somewhere in that range. This is an airport-owned hangar. This is an airport-owned building. It was a very basic hangar that needed some attention to actually accommodate a facility and operation of this magnitude. The school district received a $9.9 million grant that allowed renovation of this space to connect aviation and aviation adjacent programs to this particular building. So you have woodworking, CNC operation, fabrication, shops, as well as their major aviation tech program, all in this building. And of course, it's not just for Burlington students. This is all students essentially in our technical region that can participate in any of these programs, including Colchester. But it's an absolutely beautiful building, and I think it's going to get a lot of use, a lot of attention, and an amazing pipeline for jobs right here at the airport. And it's located directly next to many other tenants that could use that pipeline as well. Beta Technologies is on the right-hand side, Vermont Flight Academy, Aerodyne. There's just so much momentum in that little section right there, which is amazing. But it's a big building. It's about 35,000 square foot building, which is stunning. A couple of updates for you on these three. There they are. These three items. So the first one is regarding ICE operations. We also continue to not see any activity, which is great to hear it from you all as well. We are still working on the pamphlets. We apologize. It's taken us a little bit of time to do that through some legal review, as well as through more specifically our program with the Blue Lightning Initiative. And that initiative is helping us kind of use the language from those pamphlets so that we can put those out, not just with your message, but also coordinating it with human trafficking, as well as the initiative that we're signed with the Department of Transportation, which provides specific and detailed training associated with human trafficking, which we're starting that training protocol, ramping up that training protocol over the next month or so with both internal teams, and then it will be required for anybody that accesses a badge at the airport to take this particular training. Unfortunately, the Blue Lightning Initiative is also a government program, so very no communication with that particular office. But we're still working on it, and we're still going to be doing it. The federal government shutdown, which is a good segue to that. There is a lot I can say about this. First and foremost, I think the folks that are working without pay are the ones that are keeping this airport open right now. We have lots of federal entities, from the Federal Aviation Administration, air traffic controllers, local right here. We have, of course, the Transportation Security Administration. We have the National Weather Service, which is right across the mezzanine right here. We have the U.S. Department of Agriculture, who provides our wildlife hazard management services. And we have the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, which of course inspects any international flights that come in, which we have lots of international flights that use the airport. All of these entities are, of course, operating without pay. Really three of the entities that we work very, very close with. We're close with all of them, but three right here in this building. The National Weather Service, again, they're out there, especially in the transition of the seasons, is a crucial partner to us, especially to Dave and his team, for snow operations and weather events and all sorts of things to be directly updated, instead of going online to find this information. And Dave and his team have a lot of synergy, even in their office, physically in their offices sometime, to look at weather. We also have, of course, the Federal Aviation Administration air traffic controllers, providing those services that they do every single day of departing and arriving aircraft, taxiing aircraft, and then the Transportation Security Administration, which is a vital part of the operations here. We have not seen yet, a increase in call outs or sick or anything like that has slowed or delayed any of our operations, which is absolutely phenomenal. We've had lots of support to those particular entities. Particularly, I'll talk about the support that we as an airport provide, from a large scale barbecue to make sure that folks have food, to organizing drop offs both for food and non-perishables, to gift cards so that folks can actually put gas in their vehicles to get to work, and yeah, as much support as we possibly can provide to make sure that folks have the avenue and path to come to work, which they really are, and they're doing an absolutely amazing job. Well, I'll talk about it more in my graphics as well. And Marie also touched on it. We've had another exceptionally busy month of October. If you recall, last year I reported that October last year was the busiest October we've ever had in the history of the airport. That will also be a statement for this year as well. And this is the busiest time for the airport, especially in October, with folks that are coming to work without a paycheck, which is frustrating and amazing to see that they have such great passion for providing that service for passengers. And then, yeah, I think I got what I needed to say on that. Another product and another feature that we currently rolled out is a partnership with Aunt Flo products. These are menstruation products that are now supplied for all passengers in our terminal, in all of our bathrooms, all of our family restrooms and all gender bathrooms and women's restrooms all have these products at no cost. We worked with Aunt Flo, which is the name of the company. Claire is the owner. And Mamava, when we first worked with them years and years ago, to kind of brainstorm ideas of not just how we can provide more services and products to passengers, but also support any legislation that might come from this. Mamava, as you recall, years ago when they first put their first breastfeeding station right here in the terminal building, there was no law or requirement or rule in anywhere, but certainly not with the FAA, that require that type of pod or service or room. But now there is. FAA now requires that airports have these mothers rooms. And we quickly see that same interaction with menstruation products as well. So we wanted to work with Outflow. Outflow and Mamava happen to also work together quite frequently as well. And we now have that installed in every single one of our restrooms. Those are the quick updates from me in future. I know this has been on the agenda for a little while now. In future, and my hope is in December, you will see all 3 of these new leases. Sorry, not new leases, but well, 1 new lease and then a couple of extended leases for Vermont Flight Academy, Hangar Condo Association, Aerodyne, in front of you, and then eventually right to Board of Finance and City Council. On that list will also be the Transportation Security Administration, which we're hopeful to present back to Airport Commission in the month of December, which then would go through the Board of Finance City Council with whichever subsequent meetings those are. If you recall, we did present a lease to you for the Transportation Security Administration offices a month or 2 ago. I can't remember. We have changed the dynamic of that lease. That lease was an amendment to an existing lease, working with folks and city councilors. We were able to consolidate that lease into a single new lease that would allow the larger portion of the facilities to be all encompassing. The amendment only included new space for TSA. This new lease that we'll re-present in front of you will contain all of their spaces into a single lease and allow us to do some renovations that need to happen without doing a second amendment. So it saves us time in the long run. We've also been able to coordinate with TSA to add language in this lease that specifically says it's exclusive to the use of the Transportation Security Administration for office rooms and break rooms, which they so you'll see that in the month of December, and then subsequently go to Board of Finance and City Council later that month, if not into January. And then for some of our statistics, Marie actually said this nicely earlier. This is the graph that proves that since 2019 versus 2025, there is a reduction in quantity of landings. This particular graph only talks about airline landings. That's the only thing on this graph. So when you see these numbers, it's just airline and terminal operations. However, when you go to the next graph, you'll see that because those aircraft are getting larger, specifically in 2025, the number of seats on those flights continue to climb. Right now we're at 92. This is an average number, but 92 seats are on the individual aircraft. Back in 2019, that was 71. Back in 2008, that was 69. So these aircraft are getting larger, but less frequently flying. However, the number of seats are still climbing. You can see 2019 versus 2025. We have an increase of, what is that, 30,000 seats. These are outbound seats leaving the airport since that time period. We did add the 2008 graph in there too, which is really hard to see actually with the colors here. I think it's the top line. Okay, yeah. And you can start seeing that crossover in some of our months, specifically the fall months when we have really high employments. And then as far as passengers go, I did talk about the record month that we are still calculating, the month of October. However, we did hit records in October. From October 5th through October 22nd, we hit 58,192 outbound or screened individuals going through the security checkpoint just through that 18 period day. That is a all-time record of of over 3,000 passengers per day for 18 days in a row that have gone through the security checkpoint. The last time we hit over 3,000 passengers per day in consecutive days was in 2008, and then again in 2004, and that record was 6 days in a row. This last month we hit 18 days in a row, over 3,000 passengers, just that time frame, 58,192 passengers, and that's about 8% higher than October of last year. The average daily for that time period was actually 3,200 processed screened checkpoint passengers. And again, that's all happening while these folks are not getting paid. So they're doing an exceptional job in a very, very, very busy season. You can see our cyclical or seasonal nature of our graphs in this one very clearly. We are projecting some really good numbers. We ended the calendar year. The last time we had our highest peak was in 2019 at 705,000. We're looking at about a 708,000 for the end of that calendar year 2025. Fiscal year to date so far, which of course is only a couple of months, we are at that 7 to 8% increase over fiscal year to date last year. So we're doing really well. Again, it's the first couple of months. You'll start seeing lots of changes as the time goes on. This graph will change. This graph changes all the time when there's changes in our passenger numbers and our schedule. And that's all I have for you today, besides any questions that you have.
I have a question. Do you have I was asked about the bike path and an update, and I went on the website, but I couldn't really find anything.
Yeah.
Other than a very long
Well, let's go take a
plan.
look. So the plan is still on our website. You're right. On November 18th or 19th, on November 19th, we will be having a press release to officially open this bike path and pedestrian path. A lot of work went into it. We still have some final touches on it that we have to do. You can see raised crosswalks, speed humps, pedestrian crosswalk lights going in. There will be bollards that are going in as well that will not allow drivers to accidentally go on these bike paths on the cross intersections. But yeah, it's stunning. It's being used today. There's not a time that I go out there that I don't see folks walking on it, including a lot of airport folks too, which is
Great.
the intent. Yeah, and we'll send out an invite for that press event on the 19th. Yeah, 9:30 a.m. on the 19th.
Okay. Will you be sending that to the South Burlington City Council?
Yes, so South Burlington City Council will be there. The chair is gonna be speaking at it. Yep, Jesse Baker might be there as well. So yeah, it's a huge partnership with South Burlington.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead, Connor.
Thanks, and thank you for that, Nick. I had a quick question actually about the projected employments piece, just out of curiosity. Are those based on like confirmed carrier like schedules or modeled FAA projections? Because I've noticed, I mean, this is the case with each one of these anyway, but even though we have increased employments year on year, the projected numbers tend to dip below kind of previous years. And is that just more just being conservative? Not a bad thing. I'm just curious.
It is being conservative. So to answer your first question, no, these are not based on actual bookings. What this is based on is scheduled seats that we have confirmed, right? Those are actual confirmed outbound flights, and then of course the associated number of seats on those outbound flights. And then right now we use 79 or 80%.
I do 80%.
80% load factors on those seats.
Yep.
Our load factor right now is about 82, 83% average. 81.1 was the calendar year 24 number, and we're slightly higher than that. So we conservatively estimate an 80% full flight, which is consistent with prior years. And you can see 2023 was way higher. It was almost 87%.
Yeah.
Low, but we're not projecting that. One thing that might be helpful that I might add to this as well is load factors associated with each month, because then you can really start seeing, for example, October had 91,292 scheduled outbound seats, but
Mhm.
actually showing the actual percentage of those seats filled might be useful for you instead of a yearly average.
Yeah, no, thank you. I was just curious about kind of the thought process behind, being safe rather than
Yeah.
sorry. Makes sense to me. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Robin.
So one of the things that's been interesting as we've looked over this and gotten the bigger planes and everything that I've noticed from flying is that we also tend to be getting some more seasonal flights that kind of come and go. For example, the United Denver, my personal favorite. What a great flight direct to Burlington from Denver. And then sometimes it just seems to like go away. So when we do these projections, do we have a feel for which ones are seasonal and kind of come and go, like Frontiers here, then they're not. We had that one that was decided to go to Boston for a while. I was really excited about that. Then they left. Do we have a way to project seasonal, or do we just sort of put it in with everything?
No, this does include all of those seasonal flights as well. These are
But only
this is-
historic ones, right?
No, this includes future seasonal. These are real scheduled operations, and we can look even further out till I think January of 2027, if I remember correctly. We can see it's not accurate that far out, right? And you would know this too, because things change between the 3 and 6 month out very, very quickly. But these do include all of those seasonal flights. None of the seasonal flights are surprising to us. For example, the Denver flight has always been seasonal. The Frontier and the Breeze flights are also, many of those routes are seasonal. So again, this does include each one of those changes throughout the year.
So to the point that they have told us what they're going to be running, we can project.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Do you want to talk about, or do you want me to talk about, or get the numbers?
Yeah, all of this comes directly from the Department of Transportation. Yeah, so these are filed numbers by the airlines themselves. Yeah.
All right, Commissioners, anything else for?
Sure. As his hand up.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Jim.
Thank you, Tim. I'm not sure where to ask this question, but from a process perspective, I'm a little confused about the request for input on the council resolution. We haven't, I know, I'm sure it'll be circulated to us, but I don't know if this is Tim or Nick or who, but like, is this going to be a deliberative item that we will address as a commission, or are we weighing in, if we choose to do so, individual comments? And I'm also not sure of what the timing of when the proposed resolution is to be introduced aligns with if it were to be a deliberative item.
Sure, I can feel that. So I can say this is, in my experience, the first time we've ever received a proposed resolution from the public. So we don't actually have a procedure or protocol for this. And obviously I'm finding out about it today. So I don't know that I have that answer offhand. In some way it will be addressed. I don't know if that will be us making a resolution, if it is us advising to make a resolution, if it is there's not sufficient issues from commissioners to take this up as a resolution. All that has to be weighed. I can't do that at this moment, but yes, we will address this in some fashion, and I will communicate to commissioners prior to the next commission meeting as that, like, getting a sense of how it would handle this. So stay tuned on that.
Thank you, Tim. I don't know the right path either. I just didn't want there to be a misalignment of expectations hitting with reality of. what
Sure,
we're-
and I appreciate that. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
All right, commissioners, anything else for Jim?
Tim, one other just process question, since we're on it. Did we ever approve the minutes at the top of the call? I'm not sure I remember that, but just wanted to flag if we didn't.
Yes, that is part of the consent agenda.
Ah, sorry. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Appreciate it. No further questions.
All right, we will, anything else for Nick? Going once, going twice. All right, we will now move to commissioner items, which is item 9. Again, I encourage commissioners to submit their items in advance so that the public knows what topics we would talk about, who we're talking about. But is there anything a commissioner would like to bring up at this time?
Didn't we have some ones that were coming from, that we were gonna forward from the last one?
So we have a follow-up item, which is coming up next in item 10.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
All right, so we move on to item 10. So item 10 is our follow-up section. We have 10.1 patrolling of the cell phone lot. Right. I don't know who's taking that one. So you did.
Yeah, and I think this was Chip that might have asked this one at the
Might
last.
be too, because we had someone from the public who was talking about that they had questions about how the lot was being patrolled and whether it was being adequately patrolled.
Yeah,
Certain activities which might not be appropriate in an
Yeah.
airport parking lot.
and that was that was also associated with parking on the streets across.
Same.
Yes, okay. Yeah, so as far as patrolling of the cell phone lot, one that is outside of our fence line, but we do patrol our fence line quite often. There are different folks that do that patrol, both from a public safety perspective, a security perspective, a wildlife perspective. And we also have our landside team, both cleaning that space up, mostly cigarettes are it's a hot spot for cigarettes, unfortunately, that we constantly have to clean up. If there's drug related or any other unlawful activity over there, we wouldn't respond to that. But if we do see it or it's reported to us, then we would make the appropriate calls to specific law enforcement agencies. Patrolling across the street is a little bit more challenging. One, we do that with our vehicles or even our lawnmowers, and our team is trained and are asked to have polite conversations with folks that they can't park on the side of the street, or worse, because there's no curbs on those streets. A lot of folks will pull into the grass area across the way, and over time that grass dies, and then all of a sudden there's a dirt like pull off style thing there, which looks like you're supposed to park there, but you're not. This is one of the major reasons, both across the street and the cell phone lot, that we wanted to offer 1 hour free parking. Because the more we introduce that culture into the known aspect of the airport, the more we hope that folks will choose to use the parking garage, to maybe walk into the terminal to check in with somebody leaving or more likely arriving, and potentially go through security once we open up new programs in the future to allow that to happen, even if you don't have a airline ticket. We don't allow it, we don't offer it, we don't want people parking across the garage. We have the garage, we have parking facilities, we have surface lots, and the cell phone lot is specific to literally a cell phone lot. One of the comments that was made too was adding more signage to educate folks on what the heck is a cell phone lot. And that's something we can look into to advise people that there's alternate locations. I don't know if cell phone lot's gonna be the one that we want to continue going down the path, but did you know there's 1 hour free parking in the garage? Don't park here. Those types of messages that we can bring people back into the airport and not in our neighborhoods. I hope that was responsive to the conversation.
I think so.
Also, additional video camera footage. Thank you. Just items.
Yeah. All right, commissioners, anything this topic? I just have one question. I actually meant to bring this up earlier. We were talking about the garage, so but it was in the finance section, so whatever. So with the introduction of the 1 hour free parking, are we going to be able to keep statistics on how many people take advantage of that?
Yes.
feature?
Yes,
Good.
with this new system, the statistics are gonna grow a lot. Not only where license plates are from, but what threshold of parking, 0 to 1, 1 to 4, etc., hours, days, and all of that. So we'll be able to know exactly. We do know how many people used it prior to this as well, which was about 50 to 60,000 transactions a year. AKA $50,000 to $60,000 per year on the 1 hour rate or $1 rate. So it's a very low decrease compared to the couple $100,000 projection increase. And it offers more people to come into that garage, like I said.
And then my follow-up to that is when we get to say February vacation and the garage is pretty full.
Yeah.
Do we have any thought as to how that might affect people who are actually looking to park for more than an hour, who might not be able to find a space?
Yeah. One of the additions to the parking garage hardware software system is also more surface lot accountability and allocation. Right now, there's a few of our surface lots that don't have any of these parking access and revenue control systems on their gates. So this new system and the contract we have with Flash Parking will add more systems like that. It probably won't be set up before February, because that's new conduit and new construction in that particular area. But that is part of the reason. 1, to control the data, 2, to get pre-sales on the data so we can start looking at actually reserving spots for those that are staying for more than that hour. 2, potentially having that dynamic change in pricing too. We don't plan on doing that, but just in case we can't allow those 1 hour parkers, there's something that we could do there. And really just looking at the data to make better decisions in the future, which right now we don't have.
All right, commissioners, anything else on item 10? All right, hearing none, we'll move to item 11, which is an adjournment. Is there a motion to that effect?
I move
It
adjournment.
is moved by Helen. Is there a second?
Second.
Very good. Oh, I was nervous.
Nobody wanted to.
All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
I.
Right.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you everyone for your time. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, everybody.